Well, look, guys, I promised another episode of the Rover Match was coming. I didn't necessarily think it would be here, but let's have some fun today. Welcome into the show. As always, I'm your host, Evan Kamiko. We got an action-packed week for you. We are out here in Omaha, Nebraska. Got some fans clapping behind me. They know what time it is. It's the College Baseball World Series, and the Arkansas Razorbacks are one of 8 teams here in Omaha. We'll break down all of that and what you need to know. That's coming up a little later. I got a really awesome special guest, Jake McKeever. He's going to join the show, a writer for College Baseball Central. He's been all around the country this season covering college baseball, so he will be joining me for about 10 minutes or so a little bit later on. But as we always do, we're going to start off with our housekeeping stuff, and specifically, let's talk a little bit about the Tennessee Super Regional that Arkansas went 2-0 in. And look, 2 games, 1 in 2 very different ways. We talk about game 1, and that game was all about the pitching for Arkansas and really timely hitting. You had Zach Root through an absolute gem right before Gabe Gackle able to come in and finish that game off. But I talk about clutch hitting because that's what Arkansas needed in that first game. It started really where Arkansas got on the board first. Cam Kojal did what he did on the base path. Did that really all weekend and was successful at that. So he got Arkansas started, and then Ryder Helfrich, the long ball, able to give Arkansas at one point a 3-2 lead. But you kind of knew Arkansas needed a little bit more insurance than just a 3-2 lead, especially when it comes to a game against the Tennessee Volunteers, the reigning national champs. And that's what Charles Davalon did. A nice little single the other way, left-on-left matchup, was able to drive in a run, give Arkansas a 4-2 lead. Enough of a cushion for Gabe Gackle to finish the game. And look, Gackle looked really good, minus the home run to Andrew Fisher in the top of the 9th. Regardless, they got the job done. That was how game 1 was won. And look, I kind of said after that game, if Arkansas won close, they'd probably end up blowing them out in the second game just because of the emotions, just because of the stakes, and the 11-4 win for Arkansas in game 2 really showed all of that and more, and that is why Arkansas is here, and we are here in Omaha, Nebraska. So let's do our housekeeping. I don't have my cool graphics this week. I apologize to all of you watching at home who like seeing what I do every week with our OBS system and all of our graphics, so I'm just going to read it off my phone the good old-fashioned way. So right now, out of the gate, as we always do, we do our Alloy home run counter. No home runs this past weekend for the Alloys. They are still at 33 total home runs between Vahiva and Cahillo. Again, a decent weekend for them. It was nice to see Cahillo pick up his 70th RBI of the season, but I did feel like Vahiva was pressing just a little bit, maybe a little uncomfortable in such a high setting, but again, there's a reason he is one of the top 3 players in college baseball, up for Golden Spike, Stick Hauser, you name it. Vahiva Loy is probably on that list, so not too much of a concern when it comes to the Arkansas shortstop. And then, as we always do, let's talk a little bit about Gabe Gackle. He looked electric. His strikeout count now up to 78 on the season. It's what you expected from Gabe, albeit you maybe thought Gabe would start game 1 against Tennessee or game 2 and not Gage Wood at the beginning of the year, but look, this kid just thrives in those high-pressure situations, especially closing out games, and it's what he did. You gave him a 2-run cushion, and he was able to bring it home and get the win. So that is where, get the save. So that is where our 2 strikeout count for Gabe Gackle is, where our home run count for the Alloy brothers is. The only other thing we usually do is our lineup. I don't have that right here, but I'm just going to run through it anyway. It's going to be your standard lineup. I don't expect any changes. The one thing I was maybe saying a couple of weeks ago was, or a couple days ago, maybe move Cam Kojal up to the 2-hole. I kind of like him hitting there, but unfortunately DVH did not listen to me, as I don't think any college baseball coach should listen to me. I'm just a guy that talks on the camera. And I really liked how the whole lineup came together. What was really fun for me was seeing not only just Vahiva Loy kind of hit well. Ryder Helfrich has continued to his monster trend. I will be a Ryder Helfrich stan as long as I am. 320 batting average. We'll continue that. But you saw Brent Iredale was able to leave the yard over the weekend, get him some confidence moving forward. Cam Kojal, really the glue guy. And Phil Elson pointed out to me last week at a point that I thought was really interesting about Logan Maxwell being kind of the most slept-on Razorback in the entire order, just because of what he gives you, not only kind of on an offensive side, but also defense. We saw him make some really nice sliding grabs in the win against Tennessee, at least in game 1, to keep that close. That was the game where, if you guys remember, because I'm going to bring this up, Razorback fans, don't hate me for this, but there was a moment in that game where there was a pop fly in the top of the 9th where you had Charles Davalon, Vahiva Alloy, and Brent Iredale out there, and I'm looking at that and going, man, that's got shades of 2018. Is this how this college baseball season ends for the Razorbacks in disappointment because of a drop fly ball? And if that gets in for a base hit, Andrew Fisher comes up and hits a 2-run home run, and it is a completely different ball game. Then you're 4-4, and you're potentially going to extra innings, or Arkansas is going to have to win it in the ninth, and it gives Tennessee life. So that was a really big momentum-building catch, I thought, for Arkansas by Charles Davalon in left field. But again, you want to see these guys starting to trend well, and that is what they are supposed to do. So all things aside, look, at the end of the day, we're here in Omaha. I'm going to have plenty of rubber matches coming up this week. We'll have another one on Saturday. I'll tell you guys that right now to preview LSU. This one, when my guy Jake McKeever joins me in just a little bit, it's just going to be about the college baseball in general and, of course, his thoughts on the Arkansas Razorbacks. So that's coming up in just a bit. Hope you guys enjoy that interview. It is an absolute blast. We'll be right back with more rubber match coming up after the break. Stick around. As promised, we are back here on the rubber match. I got friend of the program, Jake McKeever, joining me, College Baseball Central writer. Jake, thanks for coming out. It is a gorgeous day here in Omaha.
Yeah, it's a little bit hot for my taste. The quarters, it might not last too long, but thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll talk Razorbacks. We'll get your opinion on them, but let's talk about College World Series in general. You've been here quite a few times now. What's your favorite part about coming to Omaha every year?
I think just the airport. I know that everybody says the airport sucks, but the construction is always looking nicer, so it's the place, it keeps the Omahaians employed, if you will. So the Omaha airport's my favorite.
I don't think I would have guessed you saying Omaha Airport. Maybe like Rocco's, a local bar, but when you come to the actual stadium itself, what do you like about just the hospitality of the people here in the Midwest?
They mix it up every time. The hot dogs are good. The pretzels are good. The stadium is just incredible. They're really, really great to us. I couldn't imagine. It's like being in Augusta at the Masters.
For college baseball, a little bit different. The nice thing is we get to have our phones, and we're not, without phones with the media. But here we are. We get to have our phones. You've been here quite a while. What are some of your favorite memories here?
I hate to say this for your Arkansas viewers, but when Ole Miss won it and they beat Arkansas, and just the dead silence because it's all Arkansas fans. That last year with Tennessee when they were doing it's great to be a Tennessee ball.
You're really making a lot of fans on the podcast right now.
They were just yelling it as they left the stadium. But I think that Arkansas team in 22 is probably one of my favorite teams to not win it. They had so much fun. Who's that catcher that was just an absolute stud behind the plate?
Oh man, I think would it be? It wasn't Parker Rowland back then. You're before my time.
The Renna player, because remember we got in trouble with the Renna players.
Yes, well, I'll have to get that name. We'll get back to that later in the show, but let's talk about this matchup. Let's talk about this series. First, I want to get your thoughts on Arkansas LSU. Are you surprised it's this early? Are you happy it's this early, or would you rather that be the championship series?
I would have liked it to be a championship series because I'm the SEC guy, but I mean, if you're Arkansas, you have a chance to send LSU to the losers bracket first chance. They don't have anybody outside of Anderson and Ianson that you think that can beat you. Mm-hmm. So if they can get through it, you're going to have Root going. I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Hog fan.
Yeah, and you've seen Arkansas this season. Curious, what really impresses you about this Razorback team?
So I did see them the week they played Texas, so it was probably the peak of them. But I would say the depth of the lineup. I mean, they have 10, 11 guys that they can slide in. They have lefty-lefty matchups. They have righty-lefty matchups. Aiden Jimenez has been really, really impressive for me. He was sitting on the bench last year at Oregon State, buying time, and then this year not really thrust into the moment, and when he goes out and just absolutely shoves. So that just really speaks to the depth of this Arkansas team.
I love that you just brought up Aiden Jimenez because we just had a piece on him. We'll have that. That's coming up later tonight. I'll tease it right here in our Big Trail Nation Hogs are back special. So fun little tease there. Got to sit down with Aiden and talk to him, and he's just a chill kind of California guy. Went to Oregon State because of Nick Madrigal and the high school connection there, and it was just like, I'll do whatever I want. I'm a strike thrower, and I do think the bullpen depth is really impressive of this Razorback team. But I'm curious for you, what is that matchup that you've got your eye on? What Arkansas hitter is going to have to be big in that LSU game?
I think it's got to be – I'm going to go Brent Irondale, the Aussie, mostly because I just want to hear Aussie when he goes out there.
They'll chant it.
I think his approach at the plate has been really, really impressive. He's a veteran guy, one of those JUCO bandits. It seems like the College World Series is made for those JUCO guys to kind of come through.
Yeah, he knows big stages. He knows small stages, kind of like one of the other teams here. Let's talk about the rest of the bracket. Let's talk about the other 7 teams here. What team really catches your eye?
I mean, it's got to be LSU with Anderson and Ianson, probably one of the best 1-2 punches in the entire country. The lineup, while it hasn't as much of a punch as probably people thought, there's a lot of names that you recognize, like Bear Jones.
Yep. And
then some of the up-and-comers, if you will. Like, I know Coastal Carolina, it feels a little weird because they've been here so many times. Murray State's another really impressive one. Louisville, I got to see them opening weekend. It's just there's so many underrated teams. I know that there wasn't SEC heavy like everybody would have liked, but it's a great, great field.
We got to talk about Murray State. We were talking a little bit before this. You said you saw them in person. What about them in person is so special that they were able to gel together and make this moment?
I mean, for a team that plays in the venues that they play, they're not scared of the moment. I mean, they went out and punched Ole Miss in the Mouse game 1. Duke in that game 3, they went out, hit the home run. That's the thing, that is just how much they hit. Like, they put themselves into a ton of great positions, getting guys on, moving guys over, and they play a style of baseball a lot of the SEC really doesn't see.
Right, and let's go into that style of baseball, right? How do you beat the SEC? Because Arkansas and LSU, the 2 betting favorites, the 2 top dogs, how do you beat them?
I think it's bullpen depth, because the SEC is so rigorous with how you manage your stuff. You have your good guys going at all the times. If you can get them into that 4th, 5th guy, I feel like that's where you can really kind of get to these SEC teams, because they have a lot of guys that, the Maverick Rizzies of the world that can throw 100, but you don't know where the ball is going. Gackle to some extent. I think it's in that bullpen, and let them make the mistakes.
Christian Fouch, a really great example of that as well on the Arkansas side, and that's something that we were kind of talking about with our team, is that Arkansas, you have Root game 1, you'll have Gagewood game 2. The question after that is, the bullpen's kind of open and the pitching staff's open. You don't have a secure number 3 starter, so I do like your idea there. If you're going to beat them, you got to get them to the losers bracket and get through Root as fast as you can.
I think the interesting thing, though, for Arkansas is they have so many arms that they trust, but they also have ones that have kind of flopped. Like, Aiden Jimenez had a few bad starts, but at other times, he can throw 5, 6 shutout innings.
Yeah.
So you really have to have a good feel for your Dave Van Horn, and it's like an embarrassment of riches, and he has probably the hardest job this weekend.
Absolutely, the betting favorite, probably the most pressure on their shoulders, but this team will tell you otherwise. We saw that a little bit at practice last week in the Super Regionals. When it comes to this moment and it comes to this atmosphere, how do you think teams are able to come together and win?
I would say it's just whichever team can get out here and get most fan support. I mean, we saw it with Tennessee last year when it was 70%, Ole Miss in 22, LSU. So they just need the Hog faithful to come out, call the Hogs, because Jay Johnson made those comments about the purple jerseys. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of has the home field advantage.
And Dave kind of in response to that was like, yeah, we know they'll show up, but we know our guys will show up too. So that's always the interesting kind of back and forth between LSU and Arkansas, a bit of the rivalry there. A couple more questions, then we'll let you go. We've got to start with kind of that top side of the bracket. Who's your favorite to come out of that top half?
I really like Louisville. I mean, they have Patrick Forbes, one of the best pitchers in the country. When he's on, he dominates the regional, super regionals. They hit. They have just enough depth. My favorite thing about them is they had some adversity last year. I mean, they had a lot of guys transfer out.
Yeah.
These are guys that really want to be here. And Dan McDonald's back in Omaha. I mean, it feels like he's almost made a second home here.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, they had to go to Vanderbilt. They had to beat the Commodores. They won that Super Regional. Then again, they get to host against Miami. So it wasn't an easy path for them because that Vandy team was one of the hottest in the country at that moment.
Yeah, and they did that thing where you beat them on Saturday night and make them play that early game, and they're not ready for it. So Wright State beat them, so they didn't have to beat Vandy twice. But, I mean, that's just more the same for Louisville. And then they get a familiar foe in Miami up there. You kind of felt like it was there going back because all these teams from 2016 were coming, and Patrick Forbes slammed the door, and Griffin Hughes was pretty great for Miami, but they chased him in the 3rd inning. So I think that's the thing, is they're really good at chasing elite pitching.
Yeah, and also up there too, you have Oregon State, but Coastal I think is the team that maybe not enough people are talking about here just because of the absolute pitching depth that they have. What are your impressions of Coastal Carolina?
I mean, Bodine behind the plate is probably the best player in the entire tournament. That's not named in Alloy, obviously.
Fair.
But he's a really good guy. They're one of the hottest teams in the country. They have the longest win streak in the country. They're undefeated in the tournament. And again, they had a loaded regional too as well. I got CECU at the AAC tournament. They were hungry. Florida, I mean, SEC team, chip on their shoulder. And then going into that super regional, I mean, they really had to battle against a talented Auburn team. So they're battle tested. They know how to win. They have depth. It's a first-year coach. So it's really kind of not playing into the moment, if you will.
Yeah, do we have a national championship prediction? What is your College World Series final?
So I'm going to go with Arkansas.
Oh, man.
And Oregon State.
Yeah.
And there's some redemption with the foul ball.
You like the 2018 redemption story?
I think and it's going to be on a foul ball.
Oh, man. Is that going to be the final out? Is that your call?
Yes, final out, foul ball.
So we talked to last year Ben McLaughlin, the former Arkansas first baseman. He said his early prediction was Gabe Gackle was going to get the final out in Omaha last year. Do you like that prediction? Where do you stand on that if you're taking the Hogs?
I wouldn't mind Zach Root coming out of the bullpen, slamming the door.
a game 3 Zach Root appearance. Is that what we're calling?
We've seen it with Paul Skeens, Ianson early in the year. I could see Root he's like, hey, give me 15 pitches at the end of the line.
That would be, I think, that might break Arkansas fans' mind. If Zach Root comes out and we get another viral moment, kind of like we had Fisher and Root last week, that would be kind of cool.
Oh, that would be insane. And we'll have to ask him about that in the press conference.
I cannot wait. And he said after that game, I put that on my TikTok if you want to go take a look at that. And he was just like, I don't know, man, I just blacked out. I have no idea what I did. It's like, dude, you struck out Andrew Fisher, arguably the best hitter on Tennessee's lineup. And then you went after him. Like, do I agree with the reaction? I liked
Let
it.
the kids
I'm not gonna
play.
lie.
Let
Let
the
the
kids
kids play.
yeah.
But do I understand where he comes from? Where he's like, I blacked out. Yeah, because most of these guys, if you're playing on this field, you're not really thinking of the moment. You're just kind of in there playing.
Yeah, I really like it. It's great to see how much this Arkansas team's assimilated. I mean, they have a lot of guys from thousands of miles away. I'm sure all your fans are sick of hearing about the Aloy boys being from Hawaii.
Yeah.
But Irondale's probably my favorite because he's got a little bit of an Arkansas and Australian accent going. He's really assimilated well.
He's a fun one. We'll tease ahead to this. We're going to be talking to his parents on Saturday, so we'll have that digital coverage coming at Big Trail Nation on our YouTube and website. Jake, before I let you go, just how special is this every year that you get to come back and you get to do this every single year?
I'm really, really fortunate that they don't bid it out to other places around the country. It's not in a major league stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a place where 50 weeks of the year they're waiting for this weekend. And I think that that's the best part, is everybody breathe. When you say you're going to Omaha, everybody knows you're going to watch baseball.
For the people at home, before we let you go, outside of the airport, what are some go-tos that you got to do if you're in town?
Rocco's is great, the Mattress Factory, but you got to get there early. So if you are playing a night game, I wouldn't recommend the Mattress Factory. Gorat's for steakhouse. So while the Drover gets a lot of the headlines, Gorat's is where Warren Buffett goes. So highly, highly, highly recommend Gorat's.
There you go. Somebody who has a lot more experience than I do here in Omaha. Jake, thank you so much for the time. We'll be back with more of the rubber match coming up on the other side of the break. Stick around. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Always great to get somebody who has experience here at the College World Series and knows a thing or two about the Omaha area. It was a lot of fun, kind of just to describe to everybody, look, the Arkansas practice, it was light, it was loose, but it was focused. It's kind of the same thing we've seen the last couple of weeks, a little bit of fielding in the infield and the outfield, getting accustomed to the lay of the dirt, but also a little bit of hitting. It is definitely a bigger ballpark. You can kind of see it a little bit behind me, but it's got a little bit more in the gaps than Baum-Walker Stadium does, so it's going to be a really important factor to see the speed of the Arkansas outfielders and how that does. I wouldn't be surprised if at one point late in the game you see Kendall Diggs coming in for Logan Maxwell, not because of the offensive side, but because of the defensive side, because I think that they're going to need that extra boost to speed that Kendall gives, and don't be surprised if he makes a big play this weekend. So here we are in Omaha. I do want to tease ahead to all of the amazing Arkansas coverage, not only Arkansas, but really Nexstar TV as a whole, the great coverage that our entire teams who are coming here to support all across the country have. So if you tune into our Big Trail Nation report later today, you'll see an awesome story about Rocco's, the Jello shots. That was really fun. Courtney Mims and I went over there earlier today to put that together. You got Jacob Morris doing his own digital show all about teams in Omaha. It's really a general show about everything in Omaha in the College Baseball World Series itself. So that's really fun. So you got to make sure that you go and check that out as well. Other little housekeeping things I want to talk about is this Arkansas-LSU matchup. I know Jake and I mentioned it a little bit and how, look, it is probably the premier matchup of the entire first round of the College Baseball World Series because they're the two highest remaining seeds, national seeds, I should say, in college baseball. Number 3, Arkansas, and number 6, LSU. Again, I'll go into a full preview on that coming up on Saturday in the next episode of the Rubber Match, but I do want to talk about it a little bit because it's going to be really interesting to find out who's going to do what, who's going to be on the mound, all of that, all the ins and outs of that series. Because, look, these guys know each other. There's familiarity, kind of like we talked about last week with Tennessee and how Arkansas and the Vols faced each other, I don't know, what, a month ago? And here we are, kind of the same thing, only maybe 6 weeks ago now instead. So two teams with a lot of familiarity with each other. I'm curious to see how that plays out. But the one thing I can tell you guys for a fact, the Arkansas fans and the LSU fans are going to show out. They're the two biggest traveling fan bases, in my opinion, in college baseball. You could put Mississippi State up there. You could put Florida up there, I think, as well. But really, it's Arkansas and LSU who are two of the best fan bases in the country. I think they're going to show out. It's going to be a very fun week. Like I've already mentioned, we'll have plenty of your Arkansas Razorback coverage here on the Rubber Match. We'll deep dive into that game on Saturday. That's coming up in that episode on Saturday. Can't wait to show you guys that. Look, I'm here to have a blast this week. I'm here to do what you guys want me to do for the Rubber Match. Comment below, like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys all think. What should we do on the Rubber Match? What am I missing out on? If there's any fun stories you want me to do, let me know as well. Really excited to show you all what's in store. Coming up this week, it is a beautiful day in Omaha, Nebraska, and a pretty nice sight to see behind me. That is going to do it for this episode of the Rubber Match. Thanks to Jake McKeever for joining the show earlier. For now, from Omaha, Nebraska, I'm Evan Camico. We'll see you back here in a couple days on the Rubber Match. Enjoy, everyone.